Sometimes this human life, this experience that we're living through feels like a big tragedy. Like it's a big drama. Sometimes there's a deep, heavy feeling that is arising in me when I recognize this tragedy. Right? And I'm like, it's so tragic, so dramatic, with all these feelings of sadness that come up. Maybe you know these, right? But the recognition that this is part of our experience, this is part of the existence, and of the perfect design of reality, that recognition leads to a sense of appreciation. You know, I want to share some personal examples and just some feelings around this sensation of life as a perfect tragedy and drama. I'm Vagon, this is Psychedelic Actualization. On this channel we talk about topics like self-realization, self-actualization, and working with psychedelics to live a more authentic and fulfilling life. If you're curious to utilize coaching to deal with this sense of tragedy of life and do some existential exploration or integrate some psychedelic experiences, you can book a coaching call. Link is in the video description. So, I think the first time this sensation of life as a tragedy came up for me when I got into philosophy. I was 15 and I got into existentialism and nihilism and the sensation that life is completely meaningless. But I found a great sense of pleasure in that stream of thought, because it meant that all of these human games that were going on were completely meaningless. All of this, what was going on around me, right? And then my first LSD experience, or the first couple of psychedelic experiences, when I was still back in school, right? Those utilized this feeling of a tragedy as well. Because then I recognized that I was not free to choose to be wherever I want to be, because I had to be in a certain place at a specific time. And that was dramatic, right? The sense of rebellion and revolution came up in me, because this sensation was so tragic. And now over the years it kind of evolved into a deeper sense of tragedy, a deeper taking on of the human experience. And as much as I like to be like hopeful and optimistic on this channel and kind of choose a good interpretation of situations, I can't get away to sometimes just recognize when I lie in bed at night or just like in certain situations, the tragedy of life. And it's so fun, right? It's so beautiful in a way, this tragedy, this drama. For example, I fell in love, but because my other relationship just ended, I don't feel ready to go into another relationship. And I got loved, and it's like, it's dramatic. It's emotional turmoil. Another example is my uncle, right? As much as I like to think that in the end everything is gonna be alright, and if it's not alright, it's not the end. But he is suffering from deep mental and emotional issues. And it looks and feels hopeless, right? And that's a tragedy. That he might, I'm not saying he has to, right? But he might live his whole life in suffering and then continue on his soul's journey. The tragedy that we have to limit our kids when we raise them in order to stay sane as adults, and also in order to make them, I don't know, what's the right word? Appropriate their behavior in a way that it fits into our culture. That's a tragedy. That's so dramatic. I'm seeing my parents at the moment raising two little kids, right? That they adopted a couple years ago. And it's such a intricate mechanism of raising kids, and everybody is doing it in their own way, and basically nobody knows what they're doing. And that's another theme that's kind of part of this perfect tragedy of the human experience, is basically nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just here trying to figure it out together. Throughout times of war, throughout times of accelerated change, throughout times of technological innovations. And psychedelics are this tool that kind of opened me up to this sensation that life is a tragedy. But also what they opened me up to, my psychedelic experiences, and which is kind of part of the integration of my path, is to recognize the perfection of that, right? To not fall into this sense of depression or nihilism, or just not get pulled down by this, but to feel it fully and appreciate these feelings of tragedy, of drama, of emotional turmoil, to feel everything to its fullest extent, not to try to distract myself, but to really, even though it might be uncomfortable or unpleasurable, right, to feel everything, to hold myself in compassion and kindness throughout these times where I recognize this tragedy. And then, furthermore, to appreciate that, right? To really see the beauty in this experience as well, because this human life is a precious life. It's a very unique experience that we're blessed to live through. So then to appreciate that is kind of the next step. Open myself up, feel it fully, appreciate that, and then what the psychedelics have kind of shown me as well is see the perfection in that. And that's a tough one. That's a tough one for our human mind to accept, right? With all the war going on, with everything of these horrible tragedies and dramas that are part of our human experience. To see the perfection in that. To recognize that that is God, right? And God cannot be anything else but perfect. And everything that is already accepted by God. It is already loved by God. It is already approved by God. Because it is perfect. Just the way it is. Just the way it is. Right? So hard for the human mind to comprehend. So hard for our ego to accept. Because it's very humbling. It's very humbling to recognize that we might imagine that we know better, or we know that how things could improve. And we might work on that and craft our life purpose, right? But as it is right now, it is perfect already. And this recognition helped me also to appreciate this, right? To integrate this sense of love, of unconditional love for this life, for this experience. And that is kind of the path of the psychedelic integration and how it feels for me. With this sense of a recognition of the tragedy and the drama of human existence. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts. And I'll see you in the next one. Sat Nam. The name is truth, right? It's all truth.